paying you for corn out in October, November, they may pay me, well, I know they're paying you more than money in the bank. That may be the place to become a mini elevator and say, I got to do what I got to do to keep that stuff going and blend it in with the good stuff next fall. And then they won't even be asking about it, and I can blend it in like they're going to do with your corn if you take it in and give it away to them. Are there any positives? And I guess other than China, again, China and India, watch their economy. If they put the nail in the coffin on their economy because they're so afraid of inflation, that doesn't bode well for buying more stuff. The positive, DDGs are going to China in a big way, and that's good news. Hundreds of thousands of tons versus only 18,000 tons last year total. Now they're getting it. So we're waiting for China to buy corn from us because of their their increase in protein feeding in hogs. That may very well come via DDGs if we can prove that they're in good quality. And there's some rumors out there, valid rumors, that I know the people that are negotiating with them, that they're looking to buy a major elevator complex like the Japanese have done, sourcing non-GMO stuff, but they want to be able to buy corn and beans from the United States and deliver it into the elevator complex where they can ship it from the Pacific Northwest or out of the Gulf. They want a company that has port facilities at both ends. Not to have to put up with any kind of embargo we may have, but there's not good relationships between any administration and China. We're trying to tell them what to do, and as one Chinese guy told me about 15 years ago, I said, aren't you concerned about the firepower of our economy in the United States when you're trying to gobble up all the resources? And he said, no. He said, we're 6,000 years old. We've seen countries like yours come and go. And I mean, it kind of chills me even as I see what's going on, and it was a prophet that I didn't think was coming. But anyway, that's the good news, is it may only not be if, but when they have to buy corn or DDGs from somebody, and we supply about 60% of the DDGs to them. We'll see how that evolves, but right now, the way they're handling their economy, do they know what they're doing? I don't know. They don't have the tools we do. So far, they're looking pretty smart, but we'll see. A lot of the guys I know that are economists that probably missed the top of the stock market and the bottom are saying they're concerned about it. The other positive is that it was in the USA Today last week or so about a new diesel engine technology that uses 30 to 40% ethanol. And I think that's the area we need to be. We need to promote that more. If I had to fault farm organizations over the years, I'd say we did a very poor job of educating the public. But that film I saw on here, I think needs to be put in every school. You need to take a box load of them to California and put them in universities. You need to put them in grade schools. You need to educate those kids that are going to inherit all this debt, per se, just like I heard it years ago, and I'm still around, I'm still paying taxes, and we have a debt. But you need to put it in those kids' hands. You need to educate those kids before they become voting age, not after they've been hurt mentally. My daughter went to law school in California. She was the president of the school's environmental society. And I told her, I said, get involved in that group, I said, and find out what the heck they're thinking and what's going through their heads. And it was crazy. They still thought we were getting paid not to produce grain. We still had set-asides, and the professors were doing that and teaching that in law school, because they use corn contracts as an example. And they'd say, oh, by the way, these farmers still get paid. She'd go, hello, and she'd raise her hand, and then she'd tell them, and they'd say, well, who are you to know? And she said, well, I happen to grow up on a farm in Illinois. We haven't gotten paid to do anything. We full production outside of CRP, which is an environmental issue. And so we haven't gotten paid for since it's freedom to farm, probably. He had thought for the last 10 years we're getting money coming in all over the place. So that's some of the positive out there. I don't have a lot of good news right now, and that may mean that I'm dead wrong and things are going to go higher for some reason I don't see. But I think some things we need to do, watch that February price and pick your insurance to understand that we could go a lot lower if we grow that corn. My gut feeling is we ought to just stay right here and form that February range so that the price is high enough that insurance gives us an incentive to plant a crop, because we have less chance of losing too much. We did that the last couple of years because the market was concerned that we may not grow enough. I don't think we got it with the advent of Brazil coming back. I don't think there's a acres war to be had out there. We certainly don't have it in wheat. You got too much wheat, probably too much soybeans, and you could have too much corn if we migrate to the corn. If I had my way, I'd say don't plant less corn and more beans. Let's stuff it down Brazil's throat. but I can't control what you do. And we have so many farmers, and if there were 3 of us producing the crop, we could regulate prices like they do fertilizer. But we can't do that, and we're going to grow what works best for us. Your downside objectives, I think, have to be $3 in corn, $7.80 in November beans, and $4.40 in July corn. The function of the market is, when you got a surplus, is to get prices cheap enough to where you find another alternative, or you find a use for it. We did that when corn sat here for 10, 15 years. It spiked once in a while. Now we're on another plateau. We got too much. We'll find more ethanol plants coming on board. We'll get them. I call it sucker search. We're gonna sucker the end user into expanding, thinking that low prices will never end. And then we build that demand that way. Just understand that's how it works. Prices got too high, you get it to the point where somebody can't use it, and we did that in corn. I think be flexible in your thinking. I've been an advocate for on-farm storage. When I make a bad marketing mistake and I get around to December and say, boy, I missed that. I missed half of that. Jerry said it was going down $1 and I missed 50 cents. Well, if the crop is that big that happens, the grain in my bin, then I start looking at it and saying, all right, the market will pay me not to sell that surplus, to hold that surplus under a situation like that. And they'll pay me more than the farmer-owned reserve ever did. So I will look out ahead to July of next year, or even November or October of the following year, and find out that there's such a carry basis appreciation. It might be 45 to 60 cents. Suddenly I'm getting 2 times what I was getting in the farmer-owned reserve for storing for the government, and the marketplace has given it to me. And now I can say, well, you know, thank goodness I got an empty grain bin. I'm going to keep that corn, and I'm going to forward contract it for September delivery, and I'm going to sell some a little bit for March and May, and I'm going to take a load out of it then to keep it. And I'm going to turn that corn over. And I remember a friend of mine said, I don't want to screw with that. I just want to get it off the farm. And I'm saying, you know, you got 100,000 bushels, we'll say, and you can make $60,000 or $40,000, and it doesn't cost much to do it, you know, a few pennies. And I said, you know, there are people walking the streets of Chicago that would die for a job like that, and you're ready to kiss it away? Don't come crying to me when things get bad. You missed an opportunity. You're just too damn lazy to go to work. So move that corn from one bin to another one, or build one, you know. And it gets their attention. Sometimes you have to speak, you know, like my dad did, you know, hit me over the head with a brick, and I finally understand what's going on. But that's what we do sometimes. We will kiss away money when there are people out there that don't have jobs that we could be making more. So understand that. The other thing, I guess, and I'm in the marketing business, but understand the cost of hedging. In 2008, we had corn go up like crazy. My basis widened 25 cents because my elevator said, well, I got risk. I have to cover my hedging costs. Well, when you hedge something at $6 and you sell on a board of trade, because at that time, ADM, Cargill, and Bunge would not buy corn. If you remember, they wouldn't buy more than 30 days out. We don't want to be involved in that futures market. After buying grain from me for 40 years, suddenly we're not friends anymore. So that means you need to be more under your own control. So if you hedged it, you went to your banker and said, I'm going to hedge $6 corn, well, how much do I got to give you? Well, you might have to give me $400 an acre. Holy cow, that's more than you borrowed 3 years ago. Well, corn, if it goes to $8, that's $2 a bushel. But it's an investment. It is going to come back down again. And I look back at that price that we went from 6 to all the way up to 7.5 in East corn 2 years ago and back down again. It took us 6 or 8, 7 weeks. Interest on 6 or 7 weeks, and you borrowed it from the bank and you gave it back to them, was turned out to be 3.5 cents, something like that. And I would be one that said, I don't want to mess with you. You're going to buy my corn. I'll give you the 65-cent basis. When it narrowed back down to 25, that same corn I sold for $1,400, you know, a year later, when we finally culminated around it. So you're going to build somebody a grain bin, and it might as well be yours. And if you're going to pay a banker an elevator, a wide margin, have your banker understand what it is, have a plan, and say, if it goes to $6 and it goes to 7 and it goes to 8, you're going to stay with me or not? Or are you going to say, you know, you didn't know what you were doing? Yes, I did. I sold corn for $6, or I sold corn for $4. And then when it comes back down again, you give that money back. And that happened to us, and we have a brokerage